Apathy. Humanity's biggest challenge. Apathy. I've realized over the past 15, 20 years that many of our problems lie in the fact that because what's coming down the tracks hasn't appeared at this moment right in front of our eyes, we dismiss it and put it off, which then ironically ensures that said event eventually follows up. Whether this is loss of freedoms, money issues, health problems, bad habits, relationship problems, etc. We can all use our God-given abilities like our intuition to see what's coming. Just because something hasn't manifested itself yet doesn't mean that it eventually will not come. Reason, perception, willpower, and intuition, as Bob Proctor has astutely taught all of us over the years in the personal development space, these are all our God-given abilities that only humans have the great fortune to use. This is me over my last 15, 20 years. This is me. This is me. This is me. This is me. I don't know. That is not me. This is me. Coaching, playing in the World Junior Camps, playing in the national championships. That's me. All of my experience over the years, learning that apathy is the biggest problem that we are dealing with as humans. The lack of caring, the lack of concern. For some reason, we as humans like to generally get kicked in the arse before we change. Don't know why that is, but I can only imagine it's because change is hard. It's uncomfortable. It's not always easy. It normally means disruptions and going against established patterns and routines. This doesn't mean that we need to use complicated models to project and try to predict what's going to happen in the future. It simply means let the past be a learning lesson and guide for where we are going. As Winston Churchill observed, the further backward you can look, the further forward you are likely to see, as he astutely reminds us. And again, some of his other great quotes, you can look up many of them, obviously, but those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Study history. Study history. In history lies all the secrets of statecraft. So incredibly important. And this is what's being robbed from us. Not taught in schools, not taught in classrooms, not taught in media, pop culture, society. So if you have cultural decay, you expose yourself to authoritarians and centralization of people who don't have your best interests at heart. When the government fears their people, there is chaos. When the government fears its people, there is freedom and liberty. Government is held at bay. Many people blindly believe every word that comes out of politicians' mouths. They're stunned to learn that their leaders don't have others' well-being first on their minds. And this happened in the Roman Empire and many other empires throughout history. The easiest way, as there's more corruption, as there's more currency printing, as there's more transfer of wealth from the central bankers or those collecting from the masses to the central bankers, to the authoritarians, the easier it is to just gain money from the money printer by being a politician, basically. It happened in Rome all the way up till now. And the more corrupt people that it attracts towards power, like we see the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, or we see the Dan Crenshaws, the people who admittedly are there just to suck off the teat. Admittedly. And we have them with their portfolios tracking these people insider trading. This always happens. And yet we, not knowing history, continue to blindly reelect people who do not have our best interests at heart. And that's the nature of government. Remember, a politician has only two jobs, and two jobs only: get elected and then get reelected. Most would benefit from reading The Lord of the Flies. So, unbelievable book. They used to teach in school. We used to have to read in school, but you don't have to anymore. Again, from 1954. Why would you want to read those things? Why would you want to read about human psychology and personalities? Again, our history is ripped away from us and not taught so as to easily be repeated. Make no mistake, this has been planned for decades. The less you know about your past, the easier it is to fool you in the future. That's all it is. The actual communist, Marxist, globalist plan to infiltrate the United States from 60 years ago was read into congressional record and written about in The Naked Communist by W. Cleon Skousen. Again, a book from the 1950s, a former FBI employee, right here. You can easily get it, exposing communism. This is one of the reasons that Ronald Reagan became a conservative, actually, and he was a leftist. He was a Democrat leftist, and saw what the communists were doing, infiltrating the United States, and switched because he was the head of the Screen Actors Guild. And one of the first places they went into was Hollywood to start destroying the culture. People who want power and control have been subverting the school system, Hollywood culture, music, politics, and money for decades. And this is an unbelievable poem by Paul Harvey, which you really need to look up. It's only 3 or 4 minutes long. You look it up here on YouTube very easily. If I were the devil, and we're not going to read all of it, but I would gain control of the most powerful nation in the world, and I would delude their minds into thinking that they had come from the man's effort instead of God's blessing. I would promote an attitude of loving things and using people instead of the other way around. I would dupe entire states into relying on gambling for their state revenue. I would convince people that character is not an issue when it comes to leadership. I would make it legal to take the life of unborn babies. I would make it socially acceptable to take one's own life and invent machines to make it convenient. I would cheapen human life as much as possible so that the life of animals are valued more than human beings. I would take God out of schools where even the mention of his name was grounds for a lawsuit. I would come up with drugs that sedate the mind and target the young, and I would get sports heroes to advertise them. I would get control of the media so every night I could pollute the mind of every family member of my agenda. I would attack the family, the backbone of any nation. I would make divorce acceptable and easy, even fashionable. If the family crumbles, so does the nation. I would compel people to express their most depraved fantasies on canvas and movie screens, and I would call it art. I would convince the world that people are born homosexuals and that their lifestyle should be accepted and marveled. I would convince people that are right and wrong are determined by a few who call themselves authorities and refer to their agenda as politically correct. I would persuade people that the church is irrelevant and out of date, and the Bible is for the naive. I would dull the minds of Christians and make them believe that prayer is not important and that faithfulness and obedience are optional. I guess I would leave things pretty much the way they are. And that was from decades and decades ago. So just an incredible place of where we're going. And like I said, the Naked Communist talks all about this, and the communists coming over and saying exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to take America from the inside out. People know they can't defeat the military superpower or the world reserve currency from the outside in. It has to be from the inside out. And again, this is not to say what's right, wrong, or indifferent, or anything that's talked about here and what Paul Harvey thinks is right, wrong, or indifferent in this poem. But it's the overall message, obviously, of what's going on and what's happening is so incredibly important. This obviously breeds chaos, confusion, which then breeds people that are grasping for calm, which then turn to government as their savior. Government simply waits on the shore with the life ring full of rules, regulations, and programs that slowly strip citizens' freedoms away as the trade-off. One day we finally wake up and realize there's nothing left, as all the liberties have been transferred over to the government. They are now gladly in control, telling you exactly what you can or cannot think or do, i.e. all the technologies that are coming. The rise of robots, augmented reality, virtual reality, biotechnology, and amazing things we have coming can be dystopian in the hands of the few run by central authorities, or it can be an incredible place of abundance and prosperity. It can be, if we choose to be informed and elect leaders who will get out of our way and let us run our own lives. Just to be clear, I'm all for technology and the advancement of human beings, living longer, etc., in the lives we're going to enjoy because of the advancement and building on the shoulders of what our forefathers have given us. But again, remember, as John Jay, the first Chief Justice, told us, no human society has ever been able to maintain order, freedom, both cohesiveness and liberty apart from the moral precepts of their Christian religion. Should our republic ever forget this fundamental precept of governance, this great experiment will then surely be doomed. A society, a moral and just society, is paramount to keeping a republic. As our founding fathers wrote, a moral society is imperative, and the choice is ours to be independent or dependent on the overlords, our government. Let an informed and sound mind cast decisions over blindfolded fear. Let us change now before it's too late. Today is the day. Here's to training the youth to be strong. Some unbelievable Prager University kids, all about freedom and liberty, free market capitalism, and Tuttle Twin. Some unbelievable courses, unbelievable videos, books, and platforms being built to show kids and the young what is actually going on in the world and how the world actually works in teaching truth and reality. Appreciate you all, and we'll see you on the next one.